I'm ready for a nice little day or two semi-off. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving.
You're
to,
so lazy, Brody. It's freaking disgusting.
I am a very,
It is
very lazy man.
the heart of football season, and you're talking about taking days off. Either way, Brody did just drop quite the banger this morning. Jordy, did you see it just a few minutes ago?
I did.
He has put together an oral history of the LSU-Texas A&M game that is on the Athletic. Brody, how many people and kind of hours do you think you talked to people about this game?
Oh, I hate you so much. There's nobody worse than the person who talks about how much work they did on a story.
Chill out. I know you don't like it. Just give the people some perspective.
Yeah, I think we talked to probably 20, 25 people for probably total of 9, 10 hours on this story. It was a lot of really interesting stories in there. A lot of things that most of us did not know.
So then give us some nuggies. What did you? And you can also listen to the Hold That podcast now on iTunes, 1045ESPN.com. We talk about it a lot more in depth there. But what are some nuggets from the article that people may not know?
Well, one that I just learned actually after we recorded the podcast, that just got thrown in the last second. Tory Carter caught that fifth overtime toss pass touchdown with a broken hand.
What? What?
I did not know this. And I asked him, like, Jack Marucci told us that. And I'm like, I assume Steve didn't know. And he's like, yeah, I don't think Steve knew when he called that play. But that's one that jumps out. One of my favorites is that, I mean, obviously everyone has different stories of after Delpit's interception, the celebration and all that. The whole coaching booth had packed up their stuff and were literally walking out the door. And Steve Ensminger's the only one who's sitting there just being like, wait. Why aren't they snapping it? Why aren't they snapping it? And he's the only one who's just like, I'm not leaving until they snap it. And obviously we all know what ended up happening. And there's just so many things. Like another one with the toss pass that I love is that they practiced that all year, but Clyde apparently was, completing like 40% of passes on error.
Yeah, how about that? He wasn't even good at it.
Working well.
He wasn't even good at it when they called it.
So the cojones they took to call that is just incredible. Those are a few that jump to mind.
Give him the other nug about D.
Oh, well, this one's been contested. So it's two people said it's true. Two other people said it's not true.
Okay.
So I don't know, but we've heard that there's a chance that Dee Anderson might have subbed himself in the game.
I would buy that. I would buy
I
it.
also very much buy that. But the way that some people tell the story is that Dee Anderson subbed himself in on that 25-yard touchdown pass in the third overtime.
Wow.
How about that?
I believe it.
Talk about calling your own number.
That's good, man. That's good. Brody Miller of The Athletic. So you see the playoff rankings on Tuesday night. Your first reaction is?
Surprise. Absolute surprise. I mean, I very much believe there was a good chance Ohio State might jump them eventually if they, won those last three games like some people expect. But for them to jump after just one win like that tells you what you already needed to know. The committee, do I agree with it? Maybe not, but it tells you that the committee already really believed Ohio State was the best team. And if that's how they feel, fair enough, but they wanted proof of them beating at least one, major team. So now I would have understood after three, but if it only took one, they were just waiting on one big win. So now you have that, and now it's going to be real. I know LSU has the bigger game left, but the fact that Ohio State still has two top 15 games to end the season, it just seems hard to really imagine LSU being able to jump back over this.
Not that any of this matters necessarily, Brody, because whatever, you're in the Final Four, just go and just try your best to win a championship. But do you buy that the committee is maybe sending a message here that could you interpret it as like, okay, well, maybe you should schedule teams that are not as good and just beat the hell out of them, and then that's your best path to success?
I can understand that argument. I think that's a luxury only a few teams could afford, like, that an Alabama or kind of. Now, LSU maybe next year could maybe start doing that way, but I don't think LSU would be anywhere near the discussion they're in right now or being talked about the way they are if they didn't play this big schedule. That was huge for them. Now, the teams that are already considered preseason top 3 or 4, yeah, I actually think there's probably some validity to that. You maybe just need your big conference games to make a statement and win, because it seems like they are. And I'm not even saying I disagree with them, but it does seem like they do heavily favor, just how a team looks, how balanced they are.
Brody, when you look at this A&M game this weekend, kind of give us a little overall view of how you see the matchup.
Yeah, I think this is it's not a very good A&M team, but it's a team that's good at a lot of things. There's nothing they're great at, but they're a little better than I think the average eye would see. I mean, they got once again, they got a pretty good front seven and a pretty great run defense. There's a lot and they have a good run game. It's an efficient run game. I think a lot of their numbers and things you look at are going to look really skewed because they have the most difficult schedule in college football. I mean, it's bonkers. This is going to be I could be wrong, but I think their 5th game of teams ranked in the top 12 in the college football playoff right now. I mean, and they didn't even lose many of those games embarrassingly. They played Clemson decently. They didn't play Alabama that well, but they played Georgia well. I mean, it's just Auburn well. So I think this is a sneaky tough team. Yeah, LSU should be favored by 15, and considering all the extra things going on here, I think they might rout this one. But I'm just saying I wouldn't be shocked because this is at least a very competent football team, and Jimbo Fisher definitely has a history of knowing how to coach against LSU.
How do you feel about LSU's health going into the final regular season game? It feels like they're almost at their best health status.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, actually. I was talking to somebody recently, and they were like, yeah, we are as healthy as we've been in a while. I mean, obviously Grant Delpit's the big question mark, but he's practicing this week. Ogeron said he's full speed, and Delpit himself told us he feels like he's pretty darn close to 100%. I mean, this team is, all things considered, I think having the Ole Miss and Arkansas games back-to-back, which I know is intentional after Alabama, that actually looks like it's going to pay some dividend.
So Brody also on the Athletic did an all-decade team, Jordy, and I want to see if you agree with his takes. First off, he has off the bat Joe Burrow as the most impactful player of the decade.
Him and Tyrann Mathieu, I would have right there.
Yep.
Yeah, Matthew was the pick, and then literally after the Alabama game, I immediately went and changed it. Like, he was already submitted, and I went back and changed it.
I got no problem with it.
Okay. Leonard Fournette and Darius Geis as your running backs. You get 2.
I can hear an argument for Jeremy Hill.
Yeah.
But yes,
fair.
I think that those are the 2 top running backs of the decade. Yes.
Why?
I think you might have to make a space for Clyde.
Oh.
True, you're not wrong.
For the junior year he's having.
He's also about to read the receivers, but I really, if I had to publish this, if I had to do this today instead of 4 weeks ago, I think Jamar might be right there in the mix.
Yeah.
So Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry,
for sure,
are your receivers. If you had to put Jamar in there, who are you replacing?
I would replace him with Odell in college.
Yeah. Okay. See, Brody, how about it?
As well.
Because I think that Jarvis's numbers and his production were probably more. He was more counted on in college.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Tight end Foster Moreau. Sure. I mean,
yeah.
Who else?
Thad Moss.
Yeah, exactly. Lyle Collins, Chris Falk as your offensive tackles.
Mm-hmm.
Pass the test. Trey Turner, Will Blackwell as your guards. All right, like it. Ethan Posick as your center. Our boy Clapp left off there, which, maybe you could sub out Blackwell for him. How about this? D-line. You got 3 D-line spots. Michael Brockers, Benny Logan, Barkevius Mingo.
I got no problem with any of them.
Drake
Nevis, maybe?
Oh, man, me and you, we're right on. I would have said I would put Drake over Benny. That would have been the only
one.
All right. Just saying, Brody. Pay attention here.
No, it's fair. This is good feedback. Where were you when I was making the list?
His 2010 was fantastic. I was at the bar with Nathan all night.
Linebacker, Devin White, Kendall Beckwith, Kevin Minner, Quan Alexander.
Got no problem there, man. Golly, LSU's put out some linebackers this
I know,
game.
and that's not even getting into Deion Jones, Duke Riley, Kelvin Shepard, Perry Riley.
Yeah, the tough one was I was thinking maybe Kelvin Shepard over Quan Alexander. That was tough.
And then we get to the fun part, defensive backs.
Golly, how many? You just have 4?
No, he gave himself 5.
Okay.
We got the nickel in there.
All right, so let me try to guess these.
Okay.
Because you can go a lot of spots with this.
Yeah.
Morris Claiborne, Patrick Peterson, your cornerbacks.
Oh, spot on.
Correct.
Your safeties, Tyrann Mathieu obviously is 1.
He is the nickel, so we'll count that. Now you pick 2 safeties.
2 safeties. Eric Reed.
Yep.
And Brandon Taylor.
Oh, we were looking for Jamal Adams.
Jamal Adams.
I like that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and that's
no. I like. Nobody even had suggested that. I like it. The tough one for me was because I tried to view this by what's a player at their best. Not just long career and all that. And I was really tempted to put 2018's Grant Delpit there because that was one of the best football seasons I've ever seen. But I think this year, just even if it's injuries and all that, it just kind of clouded it.
Wow, I just overlooked Jamal Adams, and that was my fault because.
But I mean, that's how many good. That just shows you how many good defensive backs they've had recently. It's been absurd.
So, who was the best player left on the cutting room floor?
I think Delpit comes to mind. Chase comes to mind.
One guy we talked about, Christian Fulton, is interesting, man, because now, he's not putting up numbers, but it's because nobody is going after him. We know how good Derek Stingley is. He leads in picks, pass breakups, all this other thing. Yet, when opposing coaches who are paid millions of dollars to sit down and game plan, when they game plan, who do we want to attack? Who are they attacking? Yeah. They're trying to get something out of Stingley. Like, people are just ignoring Fulton. He's been great.
Yeah, it's tricky. You're right, because I don't think when his career's over he's going to be remembered like some of these other names you mentioned. And my theory was I think his legacy is going to, like, if he wants to have that kind of legacy, I think it's going to be needed to be boosted by a great NFL career, because sometimes that can kind of like make people hindsight appreciate somebody.
We didn't even mention Trey White.
Golly, yeah. I mean, I'm sitting here.
Trey White, actually, that was a big one. I really struggled with. I really considered White over Claiborne. That was a tough one.
And speaking of NFL success, that's a guy who's gone on dominate. Dante Jackson.
Who's your specialist?
Cole Tracy, Brad Wing, and then the return man was Tyrann Matthew.
Yeah. I don't think you go wrong there.
Makes sense. Brody, great work,
actually,
man.
I'll admit, I copped out. I would have put a long snapper, but I just flat out didn't know which Ferguson I would choose, so I didn't pick one.
Put them all in a hat and grab one, right?
No, just make Buford, like you said, just make Buford High School the long snapper of the decade.